Hey guys, coming to you today. We're working on a wife's 2016 Toyota RAV4 XLE, and notice got a lot of vibration when we push the brakes, especially at higher speeds. Gets real annoying, can wear out steering components. So I'm gonna kind of take you through the little process I go through here, replacing rotors and pads. I don't believe in really turning them. I usually go online and purchase them, and I can buy them for about what you can get them turned for. And these have probably been turned one time. So it may not need pads necessarily, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it all brand new. And this is the process. Here, the next step, I'm gonna take my 21 millimeter impact and my battery powered impact, Craftsman impact here. Already got the vehicle jacked up and off the ground. Take these 5 lug nuts, I should say, off. And then I'll come back and show you guys kind of what we're looking at there. Here's what it looks like without the wheel and tire on it. You can't see with the naked eye where the warping occurs on the rotor, so you won't be able to tell it. You'll just be able to tell it when you mash the brakes, especially at higher speeds. And the problem you have, if you have warp rotors, what it'll do is it'll wear this inner and outer tie rod out, and some of your other steering components, anything where this vibrates or whatever. I mean, it's hard on your ball joints, your strut. So naturally, if you have an issue like that, you want to take care of it as soon as possible to keep any other damages from taking place that cost you more money out of your pocket. So that's the biggest reason we're doing this, or I'm doing this today. And I'll pick it up on the next step. Next step, you want to take 14 millimeters, what this is here. I've already broke them loose. They're not that loose. But went ahead and broke these loose. You got one on the bottom down here, and you got the one on the top. If you can see it down there, there's the one on the bottom. Here's one on the top. Take these bolts out. Once you break them loose, they should be pretty much finger tight. And just kind of work these 2 out. There's the one on the bottom. And there we go. Let's see here. Then this piece, the caliper, comes off. I can kind of do this with holding the camera here. The pads I have on here are semi-metallic. They put off a lot of brake dust. The ones I'm putting on are ceramic. So that's the reason why I'm replacing them. The pads don't necessarily need to be replaced, but anytime you're mating them with a new surface, it's always good to put a new set of pads on with the rotor itself. And that way everything's new, you got a good mating surface, you don't have any uneven wear. So next step will be since I've got this off, I'll take the pads out, and I've got to take this bracket off next in order to get the rotor off. There's what the bracket looks like off. That's the caliper bracket. Goes right here. You have a bolt here and a bolt down here that comes from the outside, so sometimes you have to angle your wheel. I used the impact to take it off because it's got I thought it might have some Loctite on it. It didn't appear that it did, so it came off pretty easy. But once you take that off, the next step is freeing your rotor. It may take a little beating around to get this thing to come off because it's probably been on there for a while. It's probably got a little rust on the inside. Looks like there's a little corrosion here, so I'm gonna have to work on a little persuasion here and see if I can get this to come off. Be right back. So, I had kind of a really nice feature on this one. It's got 2 threaded holes on the old one and the new one. So I found a couple bolts that will fit this. Put them in there because, beating around on it. See where I've done a little damage right there, beating on it. I'm not gonna reuse the rotor anyway, but just saves you a lot of time if you can get something in there, take them off that way. So you just run the bolts in, pushes against that, knocks it off there, and you're good to go from there. So come back with the next step. Here's what it looks like with the new rotor back on. Of course, you see it goes on real easy compared to how it come off. Just kind of seats up there. And you don't have to fret. It won't necessarily stay up like that every time. But when you put this bracket back on the back here, which goes in that hole, that bracket there, it'll definitely true it up. One thing you need to make sure is you always clean the surface, as most of these are packaged in Cosmoline or oil to keep it from rusting. It came in that package there. You could tell it had some on it, and you could feel it on the surface of it. So make sure you clean all that off. You don't want that getting on your brake pads. It'll cause them to crystallize. So that would be the next step before installing this rotor. And the next step is going to be putting that bracket back on, and then it'll be onto the pads, which I'll illustrate on the next video. As you can see, I started putting the screws in here. The bracket goes actually on the inside, as you can tell. I'll show you where it's loose right there. This bracket goes on there's the steering knuckle right here. So these just go in. Tighten it down and it'll pull it true back tight to it. Sorry, focus is kind of bad. Kind of wanted to show the process of this going back on since I didn't really illustrate it coming off. Get them on there. Of course, you don't want to leave them finger tight. I'm going to hit it with an impact and just kind of put a little bit of torque on it to keep it on there. Then I'll come back when we do the brake pads. Here's what it looks like with the pads back in, which you can kind of tell how they slide. They go. You have a clip there that it has to go in. I didn't buy the kit that had the new clips with. There's really nothing wrong with these. They've got a little rust on them, but they're not hurt. But generally, you like to buy the kit that has the hardware. But sometimes the hardware is not correct, and you have trouble with like fitment on it. So I always reuse the old if it's good. I know that's not recommended, but you can kind of see here on the front, the clip in there. So you put them on there and put them together. So the next thing you'll do, as you notice, I've kind of took the caliper and hung it with a wire tie. You don't want to put any pressure on this hose. It can damage it. So the next thing you'll have to do is compress this piston back in. Use a C-clamp to do that. And usually I just let the fluid flow back up into the reservoir. Some people will actually crack these. If you have an older vehicle, it doesn't hurt to crack these open and allow it to spew out some of the old fluid and then replenish with new. This is not that old of a vehicle. Maybe next time I will do that and kind of clear the line of the old fluid that goes back and forth. But that would be where you would crack it open. You take that little cap off, crack this open, and expel the fluid back out. And that's basically what they call the bleeder valve on the caliper. So next step, I'm going to take this and I'll maybe illustrate what we do or how I take this and push this back in with a C-clamp. Kind of see how I have this set up here. Got my C-clamp pressing on the back part of the piston, and I've got a pad set on the front part of the piston. And then the caliper, you got a little space here for that to go in, and you just basically take this and try to do this holding it with one hand here. As you can see, when I twist this up here, kind of see how it, well, reset here where I have some light. Sorry about that, guys. You can kind of see where it's pressing that back in. It's pushing the fluid back on the other side of the piston and compressing it with the C-clamp. And you just keep pressing, and you'll feel the C-clamp stop. When it stops, you have ample enough there. And there it is, it's all the way in. So the next step is putting the caliper on, which all it does is slide on. Very easy once you have the piston compressed back in, like it's supposed to be. Get it stuck on there and you'll see where you line it up with the holes. Now these are greased on the inside. It's not a bad idea to re-grease these things whenever you go to put these in, because these will actually expand out as the brake pads wear. The caliper, this side of the caliper pushes in or pulls back and the piston pushes in on it, and these will actually move out with the caliper, so you have to compress these back in and then put your bolts back in. So the next step is you'll have to take and put you a pair of vice grips on there before you can fully tighten this down, because this little piece here, you see I've got clamped on, which is what the bolt for the caliper screws back into, will always try to turn with you. See as I'm tightening how it's trying to turn. So you have to have something to leverage against. And you tighten them back down. You can't get real crazy with these because they will snap, but you want to get them, you know, relatively tight. I don't know what the foot-pounds are on this. I do have a torque wrench that I could use, and I need to probably look that up and see. So always, you know, just kind of refer to what I guess if you have a manual on these, or look it up online and see what it says the foot-pounds are supposed to be. I always do it kind of by ear. I've never had a problem with it, but I've done a bunch of these, so it's not really been an issue for me. So you'll tighten this one up, and then the one on the bottom, you see there. Tighten those two up, and the next thing you're ready to do is put the wheel on. Now, one thing you have to remember, when you put the wheel, get it straightened up, put it back on. When you get in the vehicle to try to take off, you always want to pump your brake pedal first, because where you push the fluid back in and where this has to mate back up with the new pads and get reseated, you're going to have the pedal's going to go to the floor. And so you don't want to hop in and go hit your brakes and expect to stop. You may have to pump it a couple of times to get the fluid back in the piston in order for it to fill back up. Or not fill back up, but to backfill in the difference between where you push the piston back in versus where it has to touch the brake pads. So always make sure you do that first before you go and put it in any kind of drive, reverse, neutral, because it may not stop you. If you're close to anything or whatever, you could bump into something, create damage to your vehicle. So just always be aware of that. You got to make sure you got the pedal back before you go trying to put it in gear. And you will find that it is a little spongy, maybe even up to the first 100 miles on some of them. You got to pattern this cut on this to keep grooves from wearing circular around here, to make it be I guess more of a mated surface. So you will have a little bit of sponginess with the new pads, but they will break in. The surface will get mated, usually within 100 miles, maybe even before then. Maybe by the time you do a test drive on it, you'll be fine. But that's what I always do. So once you get all this tightened down and get it put back up, and you'll see the final product. When putting your wheels back on, these are shouldered. So you always want to make sure you take this. You don't want to drive it on with the impact. Take it, screw it in there, get it started. Each one of these I've gotten started. And that way you don't take a chance on cross-threading anything. And then you can use your impact in a star pattern. So you go here, 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 and here is the pattern I'll be using today to tighten these back down. Here's the finished product with the new rotor on. Typically on this vehicle, take me about 25 to 30 minutes to do each side. After I have all my stuff drug out here, as you can tell, there's a bunch. Holding the camera, it probably took me a little bit more time on this side, but the right and left side should be the same. You will run across issues with the rotor rusting to the hub, so always account for a little time for that. Maybe keep you some PB Blaster around. You don't always have those indexing holes in there to where you can pop the rotor back off with on every one. So sometimes you have to use brutal force if you're taking them off to hopefully replace. Once you hit them, I don't generally like putting them back on because it could create a cracking situation. So anyhow, if you like the videos I'm doing, please hit like and subscribe. And thank you guys always for watching.